I'm going to talk about design process at a startup. My name is Sam Lolla. I'm the design lead for the design team at FarmLogs. We're a design company, design-oriented company that builds apps for farmers here in town. We have managed to get, I think, 20% of farmers in the United States use our apps right now, and we just started 3 years ago. We're a startup. Startups aren't just small companies. They're not necessarily companies that have been founded recently. They're companies that are fundamentally focused on growing, not necessarily growing profits, but growing the number of users who use it over all else. And that means that you don't really care about quality as much as you would in other places, because you're not trying to build as much stuff as you can. You're trying to learn. And as Mark Zuckerberg says, you break things a lot. That's okay. That's kind of on purpose. How does that work in our organization? I actually was trying to draw the important lines only, and I came up with this bird's nest of a diagram. What's notable about this diagram is that almost everybody on here directly affects the user experience. It's not just design. And some of them talk to customers a lot more than we do. We call ourselves product designers. That encompasses UX, it encompasses also visual design and a lot of other pieces of design. We think there's a real value in not only understanding the user experience, but taking that through all the way down through the visual design. And now we can talk about process, because we talked about startups and design. Process is kind of scary, especially to people at startups. But it's really just a scaffolding on which you can hang the things that you do so you don't have any bad surprises and you don't ever get stuck. It starts with the right brief. We work with product managers. These are basically like our clients if you work in an agency. Product manager decides what problem we're going to solve. The best advice I can give you if you're working with somebody in this role is to make them write it down in a shared space. We'll get to that later. And make them sure that they define it as a problem and not a solution. Nobody here needs to be told that they need to do research. This is a UX crowd, but designers need to be told this sometimes. My only advice, if you're working in a startup, would be not to get hung up on research. Do a little bit, build something, learn from that, and then use that as your research. Crafting the feedback that you get from people, we found that it's really helpful to do it intentionally. We don't just give any feedback to anybody as soon as we can. We understand who we're giving the feedback to, what we want from them, and then we tell them what we want from them, and then the wireframe or the visual design brief for everything is tailored to that specifically. Handoffs are easy if you get feedback really well, because you just give them what you've been giving them for feedback. The only advice I can give you, if you don't know HTML and CSS, learn it immediately, especially if you want to work in a startup. It's really not that hard. I wish I could go through the rest of our process. These are some other things we've talked about. Nobody reads has become like a mantra in our office. Really, nobody reads ever. You probably didn't read the rest of this list, but that's fine, because this process is already out of date. I did these slides last week, and we already added something. Jason and Kelsey are here, my teammates. They did something called Fireside Chat. It's going to be out of date soon, and it's definitely not the process that works for you. So what should you do? You should do the meta process, the process that defines your process. People talk about design as being process only. Think about how you want to design the way you design. And then the best way I can describe that to you is through experiments. Basically, all of startups and, by extension, design team at startups is just one giant scientific method. Hypothesis, build an experiment, test, define, and then really understand what you're doing. This is a funnel that you have. You have a million ideas. Experiment with the things that help you define that really small single thing that you can actually build, because when I started this company, there were only 3 of us. And the other thing that's going to help you narrow that funnel is to have your purpose. Remember when I said that you have your product manager write that thing down? Understand your purpose from the get-go. Understand not only why your company exists, but why your team exists. Understand what you're trying to do for people. Again, most of you guys know this, but this thing I could tell you, if not everybody in your company and on your team knows this, write it down in a big fat marker like I used to make these. The best thing about working at a startup, one of the best things, is that you get to see the big picture. The CEO sits at his desk with the rest of us, and every big problem that we have, the highs are high, the lows are low. If you want to get involved in this, there's a lot of things I'll talk about in a second, but 1, broaden your skills. 2, scratch your own itch, build a product that you actually want to have in the world, and see if you can execute it. You'll learn a lot. There's in our design group, if you're interested in sort of the design around stuff that goes much far beyond UX, here's the information. We'd love to have you come out. We sort of do designer show and tells where people show the side projects they're working on, get critiques. And this is FarmLogs and my information. We also have a group called madeina2.com that lists all the startups in Ann Arbor. It's a really growing scene, and we'd love to have you all be a part of it. Thank you for your time. Thank you to Jason and Kelsey for helping me with this talk, and to Ignite UX for being so accommodating. Thanks again.